Alhamdulillah, it brings me a great honor to welcome on behalf of Minhaj al-Quran USA you all here this evening for this really incredibly important and significant event. I would like to ask Dr. Safdar Ali, the president of Minhaj al-Quran in Hackensack, who is responsible, the institution responsible for putting together tonight's program, to officially welcome you on behalf of the organization.
I welcome you all for this great event of Fatwa launch in New York City today. We are very honored to have Professor Dr. Muhammad Tahir. So please, I don't want to take much time. I thank you very much for coming. And now, please,
Thank you, Dr. Safdar. Indeed, we are blessed tonight to be in the presence of such a great personality in the world today. Shaikhul Dr. Muhammad Tahir al-Qadri. You have his biography, or actually a brief biography on the table that is much more lengthy than that. But he is indeed one of the most premier scholars in the Muslim world today. He is a lawyer as well as has his PhD and was a professor at the university. But also, more significantly, he was the student and beneficiary of many of the luminary scholars of the 20th century throughout the Muslim world. And he studied at their feet, and he obtained from them the ijazah, or the permission, to teach also on their behalf, connecting them to the beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the traditional way of Islamic teaching and learning. He is a scholar of hadith, the sayings of the Prophet. He is a scholar of tafsir. He is a philosopher. He is also a jurist, amongst his many titles and accomplishments. Significantly, 30 years ago, he began an organization, Minhaj al-Quran, which was established to promote peace, harmony, and to connect the community and the believers and the world to the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And from those humble beginnings 30 years ago, it has now spread to over 90 countries, with institutions, offices, and schools throughout the world. Dr. Qadri has continued over the years to promote tolerance, respect, peace, and harmony. And it is within that tradition and lifelong work and mission that he issued last year what has become the Fatwa against terrorism and suicide bombing. And what is significant about this fatwa, amongst others issued by scholars around the world condemning the acts of terrorism, which the majority of the Muslims of the world, overwhelming majority, have sustained, and the majority and the overwhelming majority of scholars have repeatedly condemned, in spite of those who like to cloud the issue and say, where are the Muslim voices? Continuously, our ulama, our scholars, have stepped up to the challenge, have stepped up and responded to these issues of terrorism and condemned them. But what's significant about this fatwa, I believe, is that it provided not only the condemnation and the traditional fatwa style, but Dr. Qadri also provided a tremendous and exhaustive documentation for the position, both from the Quran and the tradition of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But he did not stop there. He went on to continue to show in the 1400-year Islamic intellectual tradition that there is almost a total unanimity of the condemnation of indiscriminate killing by the ulama, by the scholars of Islam. And he has demonstrated this very well and documented it in his book. And this provides, I think, for the believers, our community leaders, our activists, the tools necessary to combat those voices of extremism who are oftentimes very small but very vocal. And so I think this is a very valuable tool, and I encourage everyone in this room tonight, if you have not done so already, to make sure you purchase that book. Because it is more than a fatwa, but it is also a resource of tremendous knowledge and tremendous information. I would like to ask now, without any further ado, our dear beloved Shaykh, Dr. Tahir al-Qadri, and I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that God Almighty, open up our hearts and our minds tonight to be able to benefit from His words. Dr. Qadri.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests and participants of this event today, Alhamdulillah Ta'ala, it is indeed an occasion of pleasure and a pleasant opportunity for me to be with you this evening. I would like to congratulate and appreciate the efforts which our brother Dr. Safdar Mir and brother Amjad and all members of their team and associates of Minhajul Quran International who have joined them and assisted them to organize this great event today. I would like to take an opportunity to say a certain important words and to explain some very significant aspects of Islamic teachings, particularly in relation to the subject of terrorism and suicide bombings in the light of stands and teachings and commandments of Islam and Quran and the Sunnah, the traditions of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Unfortunately, the concept of innocent killings, public massacre, and a feeling of unjust political and military behavior of some Western governments towards some Muslim countries and question of taking revenge in order to protect the larger interest of Muslim Ummah, the concept of fulfilling the responsibility and a perception that Muslim countries are not doing enough to safeguard and protect the rights of Muslim populations, and hence taking up the arms and starting these kinds of terroristic activities, irrespective of race, color, religion, country, society, combatants, non-combatants, indiscriminate killing of mankind. And on top of this, mixing all these things with the concept of jihad, on considering these kind of terroristic and I would say criminal activities, considering these kind of acts as jihad, all these concepts have been mixed up in a very confusing state of mind. And younger generation of Muslim community is being misled, is being misguided because of lack of proper knowledge, lack of deep understanding of Quran and Sunnah, and being unable to differentiate between the right context of application of Islamic terms and wrong context of application of Islamic terms, where these terms should be applied and where not. Young Muslims, younger generation, since they have no proper classical knowledge of Islamic teachings, they don't understand the actual and real stance of Quran and tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't know what has been said by the guided caliphs of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, what has been held up by the great imams and authorities of Muslim Ummah, and what has been said by the classical authorities on Islam, who are known to be, unanimously known to be highly respected authorities. Younger generation, our youngsters belonging to the new time, they don't know language, they don't know Arabic, they don't know the classical principles of interpretation of Quran, the classical exegetical principles of interpretation of hadith, the jurisprudential principles of Islamic law, and they have never gone through the basic original authorities so that they may be able to find out the reality and differentiate between the reality and perception. Because of these, and at the same time there are some political global events going on, right or wrong, there are certain perceptions and certain concerns of the Muslim communities. There are certain unfinished and uncompleted agendas, political agendas all over the world, and particularly in Middle Eastern countries of Islamic world. And this perception that issues are not being properly addressed and concerns are not being properly addressed and solved. So these issues have become the grounds of recruitment for terrorists. And these have become one of the basic factors, I would say one of the factors through which the younger Muslim generations are their sentiments and emotions are being invoked. And hence they are being misled by wrong application and wrong understanding of certain concepts. We have to take a certain stance, and the whole Muslim Ummah as a whole, totality, we have to make our position clear, and we have to communicate this message to our next generation in future. And we have to decide that all these terroristic activities which are being committed, are these activities being committed in order to fulfill some political agenda, or are these activities being done under the agenda of a religion of Islam? Is this a political matter or religious matter? If somebody thinks that this is a political matter, then there is a different way to discuss it and to understand it and to analyze it. And if somebody says this is a religious matter, that's why some people who are claiming to be the protectors of the larger interests of Muslim Ummah, or through their terroristic activities, they think as if they are safeguarding the rights of Muslim Ummah, or rights of those Muslim countries or nations which are being oppressed or suppressed. So they think that this is their religious duty. That's why they declare their activities to be a jihad. So then it is a different story. So if this is a religious matter, and they consider whatever they are doing that is jihad, and they are doing for the sake of Muslim Ummah and for the sake of Islam, so then we have to stick to certain rules, regulations, commandment, basic principles which have been laid down by Quran and Sunnah of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nobody has an authority to give the nomenclature or to give the title of Islam or jihad to his own wishes. to his own personal perception, to his own personal understanding and vision? No. Then in this case we have to decide the matter in the light of Quran, the divinely revealed book, which is the basic document of guidance. And we have to decide the matters in the light of the traditions of Holy Prophet ﷺ and his practices and his behavior and his conduct and behavior of his guided caliphs and his companions and then their companions and the classical Islamic authorities. So then we have to decide the matter and position in the light of certain principles given by Quran and Sunnah. So of course, our youngsters, those who are blowing up their lives through suicide bombing, and those who are indiscriminately killing the non-combatants, the civilian populations, Muslims and non-Muslims, in non-Muslim countries and in Muslim countries too. Those who are indiscriminately killing and they think they are in a process of jihad, then I would advise them just to calm down and try to understand what Quran and the Prophet of Islam has communicated to us. Let us make the case in this way. I have no hesitation in saying that the word Islam and the religion of Islam, this is a religion of peace and protection and security. And Islam as a deen pursues others to the path of peace and security, irrespective of their race, their color, their culture, their religion, their creed. Indiscriminately, equally for every single person belonging to the community of mankind. Islam stands for peace and security of every single soul on this earth. The most significant proof of this vision is that Almighty Allah has named this religion as Islam. Inna deena indallahi Islam. Almighty Allah has given the name of Islam to this religion. وَرَدِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا وَسَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And the word Islam is derived from the Arabic root Salama and Salim, which means peace, security, safety, protection, tranquility, obedience and discipline. This is what the word Islam literally means. And going through the teachings of Quran and the traditions of Holy Prophet ﷺ, it is very clear that Islam as a deen, as a religion, and the book of Quran as the main foundational document of Islamic teaching, and the Sunnah, the traditions, the record of the conduct and teachings of Holy Prophet ﷺ, encourages humankind to be moderate, to be peaceful, to be kind, to be balanced, to be generous, to be patient, to be tolerant, to be forbearing, to be forgiving, to be soft. This is the whole theme of the meanings of this term, Islam. And Muslim is known to be someone, a according to the traditions of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who embodies peace and security and tranquility and tolerance and peaceful coexistence and mutual efforts to protect rights of each other and rights of one another, irrespective of religion and culture. I'm talking of humankind at all levels, individually and collectively. There are 3 levels of Islam, and 3 different terms have been allocated and assigned by Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to these 3 levels. The first is Islam. Second and higher level is Iman. And the third and the highest level is Ihsan. There is no 4th level. The whole sum of the teachings of Islam falls within either of these 3 categories or either of these 3 levels. Islam is from Silm. It means peace. The higher level, Iman, the faith. Iman is from Amn. Amn means peace and security. And the third and highest level, Ihsan. It is from Husn. Husn means beauty and perfection and excellence of behavior, excellence of character. You see, all the 3 levels which comprise the deen of Islam, all of them, they stand for peace, they stand for security, they stand for peaceful coexistence, they stand for tolerance, they stand for balance, they stand for beauty, they stand for excellence of human morals. Now, coming to that aspect, which I have already mentioned in the beginning of my talk. Some misled people, youngsters, or the terrorists, those who indiscriminately murder people through bomb blasts, through suicide bombings, and through many other means. They have their case. And they argue that since the foreign powers of the non-Muslim countries, they say that they are doing their utmost to occupy Muslim lands. And since the Muslims have been subjected to war, and they are totally being suppressed in different parts of Islamic world, and because of this unjust aggression and oppression continuously being committed and performed by some Western powers, they say, because of this act, we are fully justified because the Muslim governments are not doing enough. They are not stopping them. The Muslim governments, according to them, seem to be their puppets. So they say that we are totally justified in adopting this path of terrorism. And whatever we are doing, maybe the land of USA, or the territory of Britain, or Europe, or Canada, or Western world, or Eastern world, and particularly now the Muslim countries too, even Pakistan. Whatever terroristic acts are being carried on, they say we are justified to do as a revenge. And this is our tactic. And then they give this whole phenomenon, then they give it the name of jihad. Now here, I would humbly as a humble servant of Islam and as a humble student of Islam, I would like to explain to them, I would like to advise to them, and I would like to explain for the whole mankind that this argument is totally false argument. This is against the basic teachings of Islam. Even if we accept the totality of their perception as correct, whatever they perceive and say, as well as the factual position on the ground is concerned, if we take all of the whole thing as a fact, reality, even then I am saying this argument is false and against the teaching, basic teachings of Quran and Sunnah. On this particular point, my concern is, I have to be very clear, my concern is to clarify the situation of Islam. My concern is to clarify the beautiful, shining face of Islam. My concern is to clarify and explain in a true sense the teachings of the Quran and Prophet of Islam. And whatever misunderstandings, wrong interpretations, hijacking of Islamic terms and Islamic teachings has taken place, I want to take Islam back from those who have already hijacked. Islam belongs to Quran and Islam belongs to Prophet of Islam. So we will take as a teaching of Islam what Quran will communicate to us. We will accept the teaching of Islam, what Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, has communicated and conveyed and commanded to us. So in this particular situation, even if this perception is taken as right and correct, even then Quran says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, La yajrimannakum shan'anu qawmin ala Allah ta'atilu. The divine injunction on this particular point is that do not let the hatred of a people, even if they have committed some wrong to you, even if they have unjust behavior and they have stopped you to perform right things, even if they have stopped you to reach the Kaaba of Allah for ibadah and worship, so even if they are committing wrongs and you have been wronged, and that's why the genuine hatred is coming up in your hearts against them. So Quran says, in spite of this fact, do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being fair and just. Even in this situation, Islam does not allow a Muslim individual or a Muslim nation as a whole to be unjust and unfair. Even in a revenge, the basic principle of Islam is la ta'tal. You can't transgress the limits. So it is clearly stated that no group or no nation can be allowed to abandon justice and adopt oppression as a policy, as a revenge. You can't do oppression as a revenge to oppression. You can't do suppression as a revenge to suppression. You can't be unjust as a revenge to an unjust act. You can't be unfair as a revenge to an unfair act. This is why Holy Prophet ﷺ was raised for. And the basic principle which has been established through Quran and Sunnah is that massacre of peaceful people, those who are non-combatants, those who are not practically involved and those who are not practically participating in warfare, and they are not fighting in the battlefield. Those who are not practically engaged in the warfare. So those are known as non-combatant, the civilian people. Whether they are living here in USA, doing their own jobs and works, in Twin Towers or other offices. Whether the Muslims, they are going to the mosque, praying and offering their Jummah sermon and offering Jummah prayer. Whether they are sitting in their embassies, wherever they are. All those people who are non-combatants. And non-combatants means those who are not practically engaged in a warfare, in a battlefield. They may belong to a state, to a country, who is at war with you. I am giving this with full responsibility, a jurisprudential basic principle of Islam, a juristic principle. Even they can belong to a country, they can be a member of a state, of a country, of a society, the country which is at war with you. And you are at war on some country. But some civilian people, those who are non-combatants, and those who are not engaged directly and practically in warfare in the battlefield, they are living in their houses, in their families, they are doing their jobs, they are going to the mosque, their churches, their synagogues. They are engaged in their own civil, personal, their own matter. They are peaceful civilians, and they are not the combatants. So Quran says, even in a warfare, you are not allowed to massacre the peaceful people. And you cannot commit any act of terrorism or any act of killing to those who are non-combatants. Keeping this aspect in our mind, since Islam does not allow the killing of peaceful people, they may be Muslims, they may be non-Muslims, and the life of both is equal. Killing, the criminal act of killing a non-Muslim is the same as the criminal act of killing a Muslim, non-combatant. So if the fundamental teachings of Islam demand this kind of character of a Muslim, that we are not allowed to kill the people, peaceful non-Muslims. Even during the warfare, we are not allowed to kill women. We are not allowed, I am taking of the soldiers who are actively participating in warfare, in the battlefield. During warfare, when two countries are at war, even during war, Muslim soldiers, military personnel, they are not allowed to kill non-combatant women. They are not allowed to kill the children. They are not allowed to kill the priests and monks and worshippers in the churches and synagogues and temples. They are not allowed to kill the farmers. They are not allowed to kill the agriculturists. They are not allowed to kill the traders and business personnel. They are not allowed to kill the diplomats and ambassadors. They are not allowed to demolish the buildings and houses. They are not allowed to cut down the fruit-bearing trees. They are not allowed to create any destructive act in human population. I am talking of during the warfare. If these kinds of acts are not allowed during warfare, then much less in times of peace. Then how these acts can be allowed in the time of peace? When innocent people busy in their own daily routine, their works, all of a sudden a suicide bomb comes, but a terroristic act takes the lives of hundreds and thousands and dozens of people. And giving this act the name of jihad is a very big misguidance and dalala. And this is a zulm, unjust thing, and categorical rebuttal of the teachings of Islam and Quran and so on. Keeping this aspect in mind, Now let us come to explain this concept first, and then we will come to the details of this thing. That unfortunately all these acts have been given or being wrongly given the name of jihad. So let me explain what jihad is and what is the basic difference between these kinds of terrorist acts or terrorism and Islamic concept of jihad. The concept of jihad has been misunderstood on both levels. At the level of the non-Muslims and the Western people, they are also not aware of the real concept of jihad. They have misunderstood it. And there is a long history of reasons of misunderstanding. And the Muslims are also misunderstood in this concept of jihad. Whenever the word jihad is used, automatically minds perceive the concept of fighting and killing and massacre. Let me explain number one by one. There is no sense of killing and fighting in the world of jihad itself. Jihad means just a struggle, striving for good cause, and that's it. In Quran, there are 35 verses revealed by Almighty Allah, 35 verses which contain the word or commandment of jihad, expressly or in the different forms of derivatives. The word jihad is used in Quran in 35 verses. Now, it will be a very interesting point of many of our brothers and sisters that jihad does not mean killing, or even does not mean fighting. Jihad has its meaning has a broad spectrum and multi-dimensional. It contains multi-dimensional meanings. It is applied for many good acts and good activities. For example, struggle, spiritual struggle for self-purification, cleansing of your heart and soul from evil wishes, from lust, from bad emotions, to improve your moral, ethical and spiritual situation of your inner self. Cleansing, spiritual cleansing of inner self, and getting rid of bad pressures of your lower self, so that you may become a good moral actor, a good spiritual actor, a good ethical actor. So this struggle is known as jihad. And this is known to be the biggest jihad in Islam. This is jihad bin nafs. And Holy Prophet said, this is al-jihadul akbar. This is the biggest jihad for the Muslims. Because this is a continuous process. You are always busy in fighting with your bad wishes or pressures of lower self. You are always busy in safeguarding your spirituality, your moral values, to protect your moral values, to promote your ethical and moral personality, to cleanse your inner self, so that you may become beneficial for the mankind and for yourself. And you may become closer and closer to your Lord, to your Creator. And you may become fountain of spiritualism and light. This spiritual struggle, which is available in teachings of every religion. Jesus Christ came for these teachings. Moses gave these teachings you find in the whole Old Testament and New Testament of Bible. Buddha came, he gave this kind of teachings. The Jews, the Christians, every religion and every philosophy, for example, which has been teaching the mankind for moral and ethical values, whether they name it or not, but they have the same concept. But Islam has emphasized it much more. Jihad bin nafs. So this is jihad. This is a fight, but against the bad wishes of lower self, to clean your inner self. Now again, the word jihad, a second kind in Islam, is jihad bil ilm. Putting your efforts in spreading the knowledge. All of us sitting today and trying to understand a concept of Islam and developing the awareness about Islam. We are spreading knowledge. We are engaged in a process of jihad. Nobody needs any sword or gun in his hand to spread the knowledge. Establishing educational institutions, it is jihad. Eradicating the ignorance. So this is fighting against ignorance. This is fighting against illiteracy, to upgrade the literacy level of a society, to upgrade the level of awareness of a society, to provide education to every single kid of the society. And that education doesn't mean only the religious. It can be secular education too. All kind of education. This is an open concept. Every area of education. If a struggle is put, an investment is done for education, this act is jihad. Jihad bil ilm. Number 3, jihad bil amal. Third kind of jihad. This is the struggle for moral advancement, social advancement of a society, to fight against corruption in a society. Democratic struggle is jihad. Struggling for developing the democratic values of a society. Struggling for the protection of human rights in a society. Struggling for the protection of non-Muslim rights or Muslim minority rights. Struggling for protection of the women rights. The struggle for women development, struggle for youth development, even in the form of their sports and tournament sports, for their health, so that they may get rid of bad habits, provide a very safe and pure atmosphere for youth, for women, for children, for our society, to develop their life, cleaning the whole thing, plantation, all these social acts for improvement of environmental health. All these activities are known as jihad. Struggle for environmental health, struggle for health. So putting efforts in developing of health conditions, putting efforts in developing the education condition, all these are, and so that the society may get rid of social evils and moral evils and ethical evils. And society may be able to protect and advance good ethical and moral values and human values. So this is jihad, known as jihad bil amal. Fourth category, fourth kind of jihad is known as jihad bil mal. This is an act of charity. Act of charity. This is again one of the top most high level jihads. Spending your money to eradicate the condition of poverty. Putting your efforts for poverty alleviation. To improve the social economic condition of the people. To fight against joblessness and provide them the jobs. To provide social income supports. To provide medical support to people and to convert the society into welfare state. So that everybody is able to get and to fulfill the basic social needs and economic needs. Nobody is dying of hunger. So fighting for these things and providing the acts of charity to the society. This is one of the biggest jihad, known as jihad bil mal. And all these things are contained categorically in the Quran and the Sunnah of Holy Prophet. This is Islam. This is jihad, act of charity. And the fifth kind of jihad, and the last, that is the fifth fight, in defense if you are under attack. If anybody attacks you, individual or a group or a country, if you are under attack, so you have a right of your protection, self-defense. So fight in self-defense is known as jihad bis-sayf. This is the fifth category which has been misunderstood or which has been misrepresented or mispresented. Here the word and the concept of fight comes within the ambit of the term jihad. Here these two words, the fight and jihad, come together. This is the fifth kind. What about the four major kinds of jihad? Nobody talks about that. The whole Muslim Ummah at the moment is in the darkness of illiteracy or darkness of ignorance. The biggest jihad which we need at this time is to develop our industry, to develop science, to develop institutions, to develop colleges, to develop medical colleges, engineering universities, to develop technology, and to become a respectful nation in the community of the world nations. This is the biggest jihad need of our time for the Muslim Ummah. But unfortunately, the younger generations are not being given these teachings. And the West is also wrongly perceiving the concept. So on both sides we need corrections. And the jihad used in the sense of fight, it is known as qital. The specific term used for it is qital. Qital means fighting, warfare. But please keep in your mind, when we talk of qital and warfare, all of Quranic teachings and the teachings of Holy Prophet ﷺ, they emphasize that this warfare is in self-defense. This is not an aggressive warfare. This is not oppressive warfare. This is not an unjust warfare. This is a war in defense, as the UNO and the modern international law recognizes the war permissible, legally permissible as just war. The term used in international law, just war. These wars are just and these are unjust. So the just wars come under the category of defensive jihad, where you are under attack and every single person, every single group, every single nation has a right of self-defense, and same is being exercised by America. We in this world are exercising the right of self-defense in preemption. We are exercising now, and UNO is allowing preemptive right of self-defense without directly being under attack. But there is a suspicion and a doubt with reasonable arguments or evidence that you are going to be attacked. So in order to preempt the attack, so you can take up the arms and you can do any activity in your self-defense. So the world nations today, the international community is going up in the favor of self-defense up to this extent. And Islam and Quran has given the same right which is being recognized by the UNO and the whole international community of nations. The same right is known as jihad, and that is totally a defensive warfare, nothing else. So as I explained, there are 35 verses of Holy Quran in which we can find the word jihad or commandment of jihad. But it would be very interesting for you and for everybody to know and to appreciate that none of these 35 verses, not a single verse, contains the word jihad and fighting together. In the whole of Holy Quran, there is not a single verse in Holy Quran which contains the word jihad and qital together in one sentence or in one ayah, in one verse. Almighty Allah has never combined these two words in any single ayah and verse of Quran. Next point. There are two ways to understand a concept, a Quranic or Islamic concept, either through the text or through the context. As far as the text is concerned, I have explained it. That no text of a single verse in the Holy Quran contains together the word or commandment of jihad and fighting, I mean qital together. Now we come to the second aspect to understand the teaching through context. In what context the thing has been said. So when we come to the context, then out in the context of 35 verses, 31 verses of Holy Quran, 31 out of 35, they don't speak of fighting even in the context. The word jihad has not been used in the constant context of fighting in 31 verses. So there is no indirect mentioning of fighting in 31 verses. Except 4. And all these 4 verses come in one surah, At-Tawbah. Just one surah. Out of 104 surah, chapters of Quran. Only one surah. And these 4 verses, as I have already explained, mention the commandment of fighting, and everywhere when you read the context, you will find this is fighting in defense. Fighting in defense. Now I would ask, what is wrong with the concept of jihad? Every single nation, Muslim or non-Muslim nation, accepts the right of self-defense. This is the concept of jihad. And the interesting thing is that the commandment of jihad, where the permission of qital, not I'm coming to jihad, I'm going forward, qital, fighting. The permission of fighting was given 2 times in the prophetic lifetime. The whole history, Holy Prophet Sirah, there were 2 verses which gave a categorical or express permission of fighting. And I again repeat, whenever I say a word fighting, it means defensive fighting. The whole of Quran, as a student, I have studied through whole of my life. I have been teaching it. I have been studying it. Throughout my life, I am totally unable to find a single evidence where Quran recommends oppressive fighting or aggressive fighting. And nobody would be able in the whole world to provide a single evidence in this favor. 2 commandments, there are 2 verses through which the permission of fighting was given. This will be very important to understand. One verse is in Surah Al-Baqarah, second surah, verse number 190. And the second verse was revealed in Surah Al-Hajj, the pilgrimage, verse number 39. I will just quote the words of the verse to explain and to eradicate any possibility of doubt and confusion on the subject that I am talking about. First verse revealed where permission of fighting was given. Quran is categorical, says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أذن للذين يقاتلون بأنهم ظلموا. Permission to take up the arms in defense is being granted now against those who have already imposed an aggressive war on you. أذن للذين يقاتلون بأنهم ظلموا. Permission is being granted to those people who have been oppressed, and an act of aggression has been committed against them, and an aggressive war has been imposed on them already. So now Quran says, up till today, even you are not allowed to take up the arms in your self-defense. And the Quranic commandment was that you can't fight even in your self-defense. Today, we are giving you the permission of fighting in self-defense. This is the verse of Quran. So the permission of fighting in self-defense was given. And before that, 13 years of Meccan period. Tortures were committed against Muslim community. Cruel acts were being committed. Their massacre and killing was being done. But in spite of all these things, the commandment of Quran and Islam was that they were not allowed to take up the arms in their self-defense. They were just bearing all these cruelties. But after immigration to Medina, this was the first verse revealed by Almighty Allah, that, "O my beloved Prophet, now the permission is given to those who are under oppression and under aggression. Now they are allowed to take up the arms in their self-defense. Against those people again who have already imposed an aggressive war on them." This is the first verse. And the second verse, which categorically gave again the permission of fighting, that comes in Surah Al-Baqarah. It is stated, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Now you are allowed to fight against those people who have already imposed a war on you. Those who are already fighting against you, and those who have already committed an act of oppression and aggression against you, now you can fight in your self-defense against them. And then there was another commandment. Keep in your mind, la ta'tadu, even fighting in your self-defense, don't transgress the limits. Remain fair and remain just. These were the verses of the Quran where the concept of jihad was given. Now another very important aspect which we should keep in our mind, if anybody wants to give the name of jihad to his activity, he should keep in his mind that there are 5 basic fundamental conditions given by Quran and Sunnah and Holy Prophet ﷺ. And if those conditions are fulfilled, only then any specific act can be declared or accepted as jihad. Jihad needs 5 basic prerequisites and conditions to be fulfilled. Number 1, very important aspects. These are juristic principles of Islam on the subject of war. Subject of jihad. Jihad I means qital, because when we say jihad it means lot many things. Qital I mean fighting. 5 basic principles. Number 1, no state, non-state actors are not allowed to wage any jihad. Number 1. This is just a privilege of the state. Any warfare in the name of jihad or whatsoever, even the defensive war, cannot be waged against any country or against some countries by non-state actors or individuals or organizations. This is just a legal privilege of a state and the government. This is a matter between state to state and a government to government. Individuals, maybe the leaders, maybe religious leaders, maybe military commanders, maybe groups, maybe organizations. According to Islam, no single person in the whole world and no single organization in the whole world or a group of organizations has the authority to declare war, to start any warfare or to declare any jihad against any country. This is an act and right of the state. This is the first condition. So when we understand this first condition, the whole the story of terroristic activities being carried on in the whole world, it loses its base, loses all the arguments. So they are not allowed to declare any of jihad. This is the right of the state. This is the function of state. It cannot be decided by individuals or the organizations. Number 2, second basic Islamic juristic principle is that when a warfare is going on, the qital, the defensive fighting is going on, Islam has confined it, the use of force is confined to just combatants. Only those people who are participating in hostilities in the battlefield, who are actively participating in warfare, and not the people, the civilian population or the nation belonging to that particular country. I am trying to clarify this. Some people are confused. They say, for example, we are at war with that country, or that country is at war with us. And since we are at war, so we have every right to do whatever we want against their people. That's wrong. Then you should announce to get rid of Islam and to get out of the ambit of Islam. Please don't use the name of Quran and Sunnah and Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you claim to be Muslim, you have to keep yourself under the guidance and umbrella of the teachings of Quran and the teachings of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Holy Prophet said, we will quote the references, that even during the warfare which has been started by a state to state, use of force is totally, absolutely not allowed against non-combatants. Even against the people who belong to the state who is at war with you. You can fight in battlefield, you can do whatever you want to do against the soldier in the battlefield, you have every right. But you have no right according to Islam to hit and to target the non-combatants, the peaceful civilians of any country. Maybe your enemy country, maybe it's your enemy. Maybe the country is at war. Maybe that country, the state, the army is committing unjust acts. So, as a revenge, you cannot be allowed as the Ummah of Holy Prophet Muhammad, Ummah of Rahmatul lil Alameen, Ummah of the mercy of the whole world. You cannot be allowed to target the civilian population of that country, even if they have done this mistake. So, mistake, a wrong act cannot be a revenge for a wrong act acceptable to Islam. You cannot hit their population. They are civilians, non-combatants. So, this is the second basic principle. And the third basic principle is that there are some paramedics and many other groups of non-combatants. They get the privilege of non-combatants, although they are supporting the combatants. They may be ambassadors and diplomats of the same country who is at war. They may be the medical corps. They can be supporting staff, including nurses, servants, cooks, suppliers of civil provisions, very old soldiers, sick soldiers, the injured persons. Actually, those who are not actually participating in the warfare, but they are supporting them indirectly. Even according to the teachings of Islam and the Sunnah of Holy Prophet and Khulafa Rashidin, you cannot target them. You cannot hit them. This is the position of the mercy given by Islam. This is the concept of compassion of Islam. This is the concept of the peace and love of Islam given by Holy Prophet and Quran. Unfortunately, it has never been properly appreciated, neither by the Muslims in general nor by the Westerners, the non-Muslims. On both sides, we have to clarify the mind in order to create a peaceful human atmosphere on this world. And in order to create a good relations based on good understanding. We should understand each other. If some criminals may be here, criminals are not in the Muslim world. They do live in America. American born can also be a criminal. They were bomb blasted by the Americans here. Criminal terroristic activities were done and committed by some Americans. Because of those few criminal people, the whole nation or America cannot be blamed. In the same way, because of some criminals living in Muslim world and claiming to be Muslims wrongly, blame cannot be given to Muslim Ummah or Islam. Criminals are criminals. They have no religion. They have no culture. They are enemy of humanity. They don't believe in book. So we have to take their case separately. We need, in order to establish a peaceful atmosphere, our American brothers, government, State Department, and governments, I would advise them that for the sake of world peace, they should de-link Islam with criminal activities and terrorism. They should, the Americans and the British and the Europeans and Westerners, for the sake of world peace and peace for humanity, they should de-link Islam and religion of Islam from terrorism. There is no Islamic terrorist. Terrorist is terrorist, he is not Islamic. You can't say, you never say Christian thief. You never say Jew robber. You never say Islamic thief, Islamic murderer, Christian murderer. You never say the Jewish corrupt, Islamic corrupt. No, the evil is evil. Evil has no link with any religion, maybe Jewish religion or Christian religion or Islamic religion. So this term should never be used, because this term provides them ground of justification. This term supports the terrorists. When you attach the term of Islam with their act of terrorism, they say, you see, the Western world considers us to be Muslims. We are real representatives of Muslim Ummah. In this way, you are supporting their agenda. So we should avoid saying Islamic terrorists or Islamic fundamentalists or Islamic extremists. All these terms should be segregated from Islam, and Islam should be totally segregated from that, because these things provide them the support
back a little bit. You're going to trip people on the way.
which they use in order to mislead the younger generations. So, third principle is, this is the Islamic position, that all these people are exempted. The fourth principle is that even during warfare, you can't commit an act of treachery. You can't break the promises. You can't do a wrongful act. That's why Quran says during warfare, La ta'tadu, inna Allah la yuhibbul mu'tadin. Don't transgress. Don't cross the limits. This is the religion of Islam which has placed even the limits in warfare. Whereas in modern world, we say that everything is permissible in love and war. Everything is permissible. Every wrong is permissible in war and love. Islam says no. No wrong is permissible, neither in love, neither nor in war. Wrong is wrong. Islam speaks of heights of morality. Islam speaks of very high level of ethical values, a very higher level of human spiritual values. Islam speaks of heights of the morality of humanity. That's why during the warfare, the last aspect of my talk today, even during the warfare, when a proper warfare, defensive warfare is going on, and armies and the combatants and militaries are fighting against one another. They are fighting in the battlefield. At that time, Holy Prophet said, and I'm quoting just because the time is short, I'm just giving you brief. Holy Prophet said, that killing of women is banned.
Yes.
Number one. Holy Prophet said, it is reported by Abdullah bin Umar. Holy Prophet said, killing of kids and children is banned. Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your blood, O people, he didn't say, O Muslims, he said, O people, your blood, your property, your honor are inviolable, are sacred, like the inviolability and sacredness of this day of your Hajj, this month of Hajj, and this land of yours, the land of Kaaba. The life, property and honor of every single soul, human being, is as sacred as Kaaba of Almighty.
Takbir!
The Holy Prophet said, narrates, Holy Prophet said, Man qatala muahadan lam yarid rahiyat al-jannah bayna rihaha tujadu min masirati arbaina aman. Anyone who kills a non-Muslim citizen, who is a non-combatant, Holy Prophet said, a Muslim killer of a non-Muslim, peaceful person, non-combatant, said that Muslim will never smell the fragrance of paradise. Then Holy Prophet ﷺ said that any person who hurts a non-Muslim citizen, just considering him as a non-Muslim, and he hurts him, he said, I shall be the opponent of the Muslim on the day of judgment. And I will fight the case of non-Muslim in his favor against the Muslim. Then Holy Prophet ﷺ further said, and this was the practice of the companions of Holy Prophet ﷺ. He said that be careful, don't kill the merchants. Even they belong to the pagan Arab society, they belong to the mushrikeen, because they provide food to the people. Don't kill them. وَكَانُوا لَا يَقْتُلُونَ تُجَّارَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Then Holy Prophet said, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي الْفَلَّاحِينَ فَلَا تَقْتُلُوهُمْ. Fear God regarding the farmers. Don't kill the farmers even during the warfare, because they provide the agricultural commodities to the people. They provide the sustenance to the people, and they provide the provision, the resources for the life of the people. And you are fighting against non-Muslims and kuffar. And during warfare, Holy Prophet is saying, don't kill their farmers and don't kill their trade persons. Then Holy Prophet said, don't kill the shuyukh and ruhban. Don't kill the people who are their religious leaders and who are elderly. Don't kill them. Then Holy Prophet said, don't kill all non-combatants. Just take into consideration the glorious character of Holy Prophet when he entered back in Mecca after the victory of Mecca, where 8 years of continuous imposition of battles and wars had passed. Every single year, the Meccan armies were fighting an oppressive war against Medina and Holy Prophet, and he was always on defense, for the last 8 years, till he conquered the Mecca without any bloodshed. The people of Mecca, they were absolutely scared, and they were thinking now nobody would be left unrevenged. When Holy Prophet arrived there, he said, Man dakhala dar Abi Sufyan fahuwa aminun, wa man alqa salah fahuwa aminun, wa man akhlaqa babahu fahuwa aminun. Holy Prophet announced, said, whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyan, the biggest enemy of Holy Prophet up till that time, he said he would be safe. Who enters the house of my enemy, just giving a message that he is not ready to fight anymore, he is safe. He said, whoever lays down his weapon and gives the message of peace, he is safe. And he said, whoever shuts his door is safe, because he has already given the message of peace. So he forgave all of his enemies. So a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who does not take revenge from the pagans, the cruel people, the oppressors and aggressors of Mecca, those who are torturing the Muslims in Mecca and Medina for the last 8 years. So Muslim organizations and claiming to be warriors and jihadists in the name of God and Holy Prophet try to get the light of the character of Prophet Muhammad and behave as Holy Prophet behaved and bring a good name to the deen of Islam. Then Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Sayyidina Ali reports, he said, the injured person and the prisoner should not be killed. Even in a battlefield, your enemy, military personnel is injured and he is fallen down. Since he is injured, he can't defend himself. He can't take up the arm and can't fight against you. Holy Prophet said, no, don't kill him. This is the height of the moral teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if anybody, the Holy Spirit said, one flees should not be pursued. If anybody runs away from battlefield, leave it. You are not allowed to kill him, because he has already given up the war. So Holy Prophet, first and last preference was peace. Establishment of peace. So wherever he found any way, he said, La maridan wala rahiban, do not kill any sick person and do not kill any monk, any priest. If anybody is found worshipping in his church, in his synagogue, in his temple, Holy Prophet said, leave him for what he is doing with his Lord. And when Holy Prophet wrote an agreement with the people of Najran, he said nobody would be, none of the Muslim army personnel is allowed to compel or to coerce any non-Muslim to change their religion. Their religion would be protected in the same way as yours. Holy Prophet said, Allah, la yuqtalu rahibu fi sawmi'a. Beware, a priest should not be killed. The churchman cannot be killed. Then Holy Prophet said, a diplomat of your enemy state cannot be killed. Ambassador cannot be killed. And Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, and then this was the continuous practice of the Khulafa Rashidin. Up till the later, they said, La tahdimu kanisatan wala bi'atan wala baytanarin. Do not demolish any church or cloister or Zoroastrian temple. This was the practice of the Khulafa Rashidin. Up till Umar bin Abdul Aziz, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, always, that you can't demolish their worship places. And he was the first person to establish an alliance between the Muslims and Jews and Christians and their allies, while establishing the Islamic State of Medina. And he provided them guarantee of their freedom of their religion, freedom of their culture, freedom of their personal laws and personal rights. The first person on this earth was Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who established the first constitutional and democratic state of Medina. And this was the kindness. When Sayyidina Umar, the guided caliph of Holy Prophet, he was walking around the streets and he saw a Jew and a Christian sometimes, an old person, he was begging. He called him. He said, oh my Jew friend, why are you begging? He said, to pay my taxes. I am jobless, so I can't pay any tax. So I am begging so that I may pay tax. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala announced, from today, any non-Muslim or any person who is old and jobless, he would be tax-free. No tax would be charged from him. Rather, he would be given by income support, social support. So the Christians and Jews living under Islamic governments in Syria and in Constantinople countries, they felt much freedom and safety and security under the Muslim rules because they were given complete protection of their rights. So today, we have to practice Islam in the same way, in letter and spirit, as Holy Prophet ﷺ has demonstrated through his conduct and behavior. And we should preach and we should practice. And we should demonstrate and we should communicate practically the teachings of Islam as commanded in Holy Quran. And if there are some faults with the Muslim countries, we should develop our own political pressures on those governments in a peaceful, democratic ways to change the governments. If they are not doing well, just adopt the peaceful ways, democratic ways, not the killing and torturous ways. Get your governments changed. Many times there are elections and re-elections and re-elections in Western countries. Go through a process of democracy. Fight democratically, politically, in a peaceful way for your rights. Bring good people as your leaders and governments. Those who do not work as the puppets, who should work for the benefit and safeguard of the rights of the Muslim Ummah. But nobody is allowed by Quran and Sunnah and by Almighty Allah and Holy Prophet to take up the arms and to become responsible for revenge on the behalf of Muslim Ummah. The life of every Muslim and non-Muslim is equal. And Islam is for the safety of every life of every single soul. And the Quran says, Man qatala nafsan bighayri nafsin faka'annama qatala an-nasa jami'a. Any person who kills a single person, a soul, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, as if he has committed the murder of all of humanity. These are the actual and real teachings of Islam. And that's why I declared, when I gave this fatwa and wrote this book, I declared this act of, criminal act of public massacre and suicide bombing and terrorist activities, terrorism, considering it lawful. This is an act of kufr, an act of disbelief. Killing of people, considering it lawful, those who are non-combatant. This is totally against the teachings and the text of Quran and the teachings of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this act, considering them lawful and considering it jihad, this is an act of disbelief, which can never be permissible by Islam in any situation. There is no exception, no exemption. Whatever may be the pretext, whatever may be the reason, whatever may be the background, Islam has given us certain principles. We can't transgress them, we can't break them. Muslim has to be peaceful in all ways and all means. And he should bring a good name. Living here in USA, I would advise you to bring good name for Holy Prophet and Quran and its teaching and the Ummah of Holy Prophet ﷺ, so that people may understand that a Muslim means to become the best of the man, humankind. A Muslim means the best person, morally, spiritually, ethically, in his human behavior, in his conduct, with Almighty Allah as well as in his dealing with other people in this world. I hope this message will reach our brothers and those people belonging to younger generations who are misguided, and they will try to understand what Islam has commanded and what Islam has taught us, so that we may be able to live a good life in the light of the teachings of Islam in Quran and Sunnah. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
All the ulama, including you, in Pakistan, they said jihad is jaiz on that time. What happened now in America is aggression in Afghanistan, especially drone. What do you call this about aggression?
Let me explain. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Since you mentioned Pakistan and all the ulama, and you put my name too, I was a student at that time. I never gave any fatwa at that time. When the Shia invasion took place, I was a student in some university. So I never gave this kind of fatwa, and so this is the first position. I was never involved in that matter. Secondly, that was again a political move, and the people were brought from all over the world, and financial and military support was given just to fight against Russian occupation. It was, of course, jihad, just for Afghanis, whose land was occupied by some foreign government. So fighting for their own independence was definitely because they were attacked and their territory, land and country was unlawfully occupied. So their fighting definitely was fight of self-defense for independence. It was jihad. But the whole world and whatever was done, that was just a political move and nothing more than that.
Shall we have another question?
Because you know, the Cold War was going on for the last 40 years and this was the whole move to destabilize one state, and this was to bring an end on bipolar world, to finish the bipolarity, to bring to single polar world. So the involvement of the whole thing, that became the basis of the whole terrorism. The whole 10, 12, 14 years, that became the foundation of the development of terrorism. What's second part?
Okay, so we're going to go to the next.
Ji?
I had a question about preemptive strike.
Ji, take second. What's the second part?
Preemptive strike.
Yes, his question. Where? Acha. Yes. Maybe the drone attacks or in any form where innocent people are being killed. This is absolutely unlawful and an act of brutality. It should be stopped. Through any act, if innocent people are being killed, as I explained, the same principle will be applied everywhere. There is no exception in that. Secondly, this is the matter of government and the state and parliament to take certain steps. Unfortunately, you see a resolution was passed and after that nobody spoke about that. This is their responsibility to stand up and to talk with somebody and to save the lives of their people. This is one aspect. But the other aspect is, one aspect is that the attacks which are being the cause of many innocent lives are being taken. This is wrong. But at the same time, you know, the terrorists from all over the Arab world, they have got the safe positions in Pakistan and they are living there and they are not living. So if they are living there and they are found there and they are being killed in Pakistan land, so at the same time this is also a wrongful act. They should be fair. The whole game should be fair on both sides. And they should get rid of terrorists and at least they should cleanse their own land and territory from the occupation of the terrorists.
Inshallah, just as a reminder that we will have the press meeting and dinner upstairs immediately after this session.
These are the press media people. They are asking questions. No, just wait. These are our brothers who are going to ask the question there. No need of afterwards any press conference. They are allowed to ask whatever they want now. So then why this section? So then it's better, the question related to media, you can ask in your press conference. Let the public entertain, they can ask their questions if they are concerned about it.
Yes,
I'm happy to give you separate time, but let other common people ask. You can ask in your time.
If you don't have the mic, then please don't speak.
First of all, I would like to thank you for this inspiring speech. And I have
somebody, one brother was standing there, he has a right to ask us.
Jazakallah, thank you. My question was, UNO approving, UNO giving permission of preemptive strike.
Preemptive strike, as you know, is giving the permission, can be considered to be lawful if the evidences are absolutely true, based on realities. And if the evidence, there are no proper evidence for preemptive, which necessitates the preemptive attack, then of course it would be unlawful and in a way of manipulating the things and maneuvering the things. It has double-edged aspect. If there is reasonable and reliable evidences which necessitates the preemptive attack for a country or for a state, it can be lawful. But the evidence should be given by an impartial, you can say, a group of you and know that really there is something which is going to happen, and there should be evidence. Without evidence, this right should not be given and should not be available to any single country to start any preemptive act. You and know should take responsibility of fairness.
First of all, I would like to thank you very much for this inspiring speech. My quick question is, most of us are immigrant either from subcontinent or from Middle East. But recently, the Islamophobia has been created, and it plays a great tremendous on our life here. I would like to ask you, is there any specific way to fight this Islamophobia? My second question is,
restrict to one question. You know, there are extremists in every side, in every country, in every culture, belonging to every religion. So this is again, you can say, a radicalism, an extremism, academically and philosophically or theoretically or intellectually. This is again an act of extremism, an act of radicalism, which is creating Islamophobia. The best way to counter is to present your own case in a very nice, effective way. The more you give the true picture of Islamic teaching, the more you enhance and show the people the real beautiful face of Islam. As we discussed today in this session, this is the only best way to counter Islamophobia. These are just extremistic ways, and extremists are everywhere. Radicals are everywhere. And people creating nonsense, people creating hatred, people creating civilizational clashes and cultural clashes and religious clashes between communities, they are everywhere. So the best way to counter these things is to promote the peaceful teachings and the peaceful, beautiful face of Islam.
I have a question. If you could explain the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, where there is an evil going on, you have to stop by hand, and then by word, or then at least make a dua that will show the least of the level of iman is by making dua. Can you please explain the hadith in light of today's atmosphere?
First of all, this hadith has nothing to do with jihadism. There is no ism in Islam. Islam itself is complete and perfect. Hadith speaks, Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi. He speaks about the social evils. If anybody's personal right is being infringed, Islam, I have already explained, there comes the right of self-defense. You can stand up for self-defense. Or any those kind of social wrongs and evils are being committed which will damage the overall society, social fabric of the society, you are supposed to eliminate it. By hand does not mean take up the arms. Absolutely no. It means actively, with full participation, try to eradicate the society from evils and to stop the evil advancement. This means your effort, practical effort. Doesn't mean taking up the arms. If anybody thinks this is absolutely out of the ambit of Prophet's tradition. Doesn't mean this. And then it is clear, if anybody is not in this position to actively do something, then he should at least say something against it, explain it, express his view. And if then hate it from his heart. That is adab for iman. So in the light of this hadith, never permits taking up arms to eradicate them. Holy Prophet said, any person who takes up the arm, falaysa minna, is not from my ummah.
I just want to know if we are, as the fatwa has been announced, if it is not followed by our Muslim brothers, then how it's going to be solved?
I have issued this fatwa, and this is, as our brother explained, this is a documented book, research-based book containing thousands of references and authorities. It doesn't mean, and I never hoped it, that this fatwa will stop the war of terrorism all over the world, or this will stop all terrorists and radicals and extremists and militants to stop their activities. This is not any proper way to think. This is just to communicate this message to every single person. This is available on internet, available in the form of small subjects, my talks, in the form of books. The more the message is spreaded, at least the confusion which exists on the concept of Shahada. The youngster generation, they are given whatever we are doing through society. I mean, this is Shahada. I have explained, this is not Shahada and martyrdom. The suicide bomb takes you to hellfire. They are present. Youngsters, because of lack of their knowledge and real understanding of Islam, they are told that you will get 70 virgins if you do this act of suicide bombing. Holy Prophet said, anybody who commits suicide will go direct to hellfire. There will be no virgins for him waiting for him. Rather, hellfire would be waiting for him. So I have explained these kind of activities has no place in Islam, just to correct their mindset. The more they read, the more it reaches to the people, inshallah, it will clarify the position of Islam as well as it will clarify their misunderstanding. It doesn't mean that this book or this fatwa will stop the terrorist from the terroristic activity. It may change minds of the thousands of people, minds of hundreds of thousands of the people, and it may not stop, for example, the terrorists. Some people can make tawbah, they can repent, they can change their way. Some people can't.
I have a question here. What people should do when the government cannot protect them? For example, justified drone attack in Pakistan.
This is good.
And a lot of civilians are killed. Okay, you are killing some terrorists, that's fine. But what about these civilian people? A lot of hundreds and maybe thousands of people being killed by these attacks.
This is a very good question. An answer is very simple. If the government is not stopping and not fulfilling their duty, and thousands innocent people's lives are going on, what should people do? They should do the same what the Egyptian people have done. Why the Pakistani people, why they have become cowards, why they have become goats and lambs? They should stand up for their rights in a peaceful way. They should change the government. They should change the puppet. They should change the puppet governments. They should change those governments who are working just for their own corruption and agenda, and they have no interest for the nation and people and country and their sovereignty. But in a democratic, peaceful way, they should change it. Unfortunately, when elections come, they will vote to the same people. Then they should live like their fate.
Qadri, I want to thank you for this wonderful scholarly fatwa, which Muslims who have been fighting Islamophobia in the United States and everywhere in the West need as a tool. So one of the things I would like to ask you is, do you have other Muslim scholars, either in Pakistan or other parts of the world, who have also signed on to your statement and this fatwa, so that we can then tell the world that it is not just one imam, but there are many who have joined him in condemnation of suicide bombing and terrorism?
There are thousands and thousands of Muslim scholars and ulama who endorse this point of view and who have already condemned terrorism and who are condemning continuously, but now they have got the references, authorities, evidences with them. And you ask, is anybody endorsed? What to talk of any imam or scholar? The biggest seat of learning in Muslim world, the highest and the biggest, the most reliable seat of learning, Islamic learning in Islamic world, is Jamia al-Azhar. Jamia al-Azhar has officially endorsed my fatwa and given their detailed statement, which is published on the back page. This is Jamia al-Azhar.
The
because they are fighting with these soldiers against the Islam, but because they have the first over their jihad or not?
I have already explained in the question related to the Russian occupation. I said if there is any occupation and the people feel that their independence has been snatched from them, so the armies and the people belonging to them, they have right of self-defense and fighting against the armies there. But nobody on basis of this has a right to take up the arms or bombs and to attack on the American people, the non-combatant civilians or English people or Canadian or European or the Muslims praying in the mosque in Pakistan. So, on the pretext of this kind of action, nobody is allowed in Islam to attack on non-Muslim civilians anywhere in the world. This is the only question. They have every right of self-defense in their country.
Jazakallah khair.
Every right.
Dr. Father Isam, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you and to continue to bless you and give you the clarity of mind and purity of heart and continue to guide our communities. I would ask that those who are with the press to please proceed to the back.
जिसका जिसका लास्ट में लगा